Marco Reus. Daniel Malen! Wonderful!
Fantastic from Reus. Jude Bellingham, that's excellent. Jude Bellingham, this is absolutely brilliant. Jude Bellingham! Absolutely magnificent.
Reina, brilliant from the American. Just like that.
Graceful. Salihud's turn for Anthony Modeste.
Not a bad idea. And there it is for Coco for Borussia Dortmund. The long wait is over. Unbridled joy in the Via Derby.
Hey, welcome back to the BVB podcast. My name's Jake, joined as always by Carver. Carver, I'll ask you how you're doing in a second. But first, we got to introduce our special guest for the night, Adam, who we talk about a lot. He's been on the show a few times. You probably know who he is. It's always great to have Adam. Adam, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
I am doing very well lately, I have to say. You know, last time I was on, it was after the draw against Schalke. This is much better circumstances to come on. So there's a lot of fun stuff to talk about. And thanks for asking me. Yeah.
I mean, we always say it. We need you on here more than we get you on here. And I think that's a matter of us just needing to ask more. But we're really excited to have you back, Carver. It's been a good week. It was a good weekend. How are you doing?
Yeah, not much to add. I said last week that I wouldn't get too excited unless Leipzig pull off the impossible and we beat Augsburg. And here we are. So it's hard not to really get excited, but we still got one more week.
I had a busy day Saturday, busy day. I had a busy weekend. I'll just say that because I did watch this game a bit late. But also the Leipzig Bayern result, I didn't see that till later because I knew I couldn't watch it live. I knew I probably wasn't going to go back and watch it, but I was so busy with the day, I kind of just forgot. And then I checked it in the evening. I don't remember where I was, but I remember walking and just pulling up the Bundesliga app and seeing the score and just being like, holy shit. Holy shit. Couldn't believe it. And I said it audibly wherever I was walking, I don't think I was in a public place. I might've been walking my dog, but it was just like losing my mind. It was so good. So, I mean, if you guys watched that game and want to talk about that, we can. I know, Adam, you went all out Leipzig before the match.
Oh, yes. Lifelong Leipzig fan over here. Always loved them since I was born,
like 11 years ago?
That long history. But I started watching the game. I despise watching Bayern or Leipzig games in general. So putting it on, I was just like, ugh, and just trying to get through it. And then Bayern scored. And that's when I was like, I can't do this. I can't watch them ruin my Saturday when I actually don't have Dortmund to watch. So I turned it off. And I, just kind of looked at the score every once in a while. Still 1-0, still 1. Then I was like, oh, it's 1-1. That won't hold. Bayern will come back. And then it was 2-1. And then I was like, all right, there's only a few minutes left. It's 2-1. I'm going to watch the end here. I pulled it up. And just as I was pulling it up, I thought I was watching the 2-1, on delay or something. But no, it was the 3-1. And I was like, holy shit. This is the end now. They're not going to come back from this. So I was pleasantly surprised. And, so many former Dortmund coaches have had to come through for us in the last couple weeks. Rosa had to win, Tuchel had to lose, Enrico Maassen had to lose. There's one more I'm forgetting here. It was all these second team coaches too, just joining together to help us get to this point where we have one more match to go.
We're not going to just talk Leipzig and Bayern, but we had joked about this before, the Tuchel sabotage. And Carver, if you have anything to add about this match, but more specifically, all these stars, these Dortmund stars aligning, is this? It's meant to happen. I didn't even think about the Rosa and Tuchel thing before this match, but Yeah, you're right. It's like
and Daniel Farke for Gladbach last week. That's who I was forgetting, the second team coach, and then Maassen, the second team coach, who's now with Augsburg. So the whole thing was like former Dortmund alumni was conniving to get this match to where it was going to be this huge last day event. It's amazing.
Carver, anything to add?
I can't say I do. No, it's like you said, the fate just keeps falling back in our hands somehow. I keep saying this almost every week now, but back in November, if you would have told me after we lost to Gladbach, and we did the review, all three of us together, now that I'm thinking about it, during the World Cup break.
Yeah.
We went over the results of our survey asking, where do you guys think we're going to finish? And one of the options was Kreisen Europa League anthem. And a good amount of people voted for that. And I think all of us said either somehow we pull off fourth, maybe third if we're optimistic. And yeah, 1 week away.
That's what I was saying. Like when we just started, like the last two times I've been on were like at the end of the first half of the season where we had just lost to Wolfsburg and Gladbach back to back. So we were really down. And then like I didn't come on during the whole winning streak. And then I finally came on after the Schalke draw. And I was like, I missed all the good stuff. But now I'm finally here for a good one.
And again, our bad. We should have you. But I know obviously we're super excited, and I know a few weeks ago Carver was like, I can't be optimistic until, and we've hit this. I think we've hit the until, but it's not done yet. Like we still got work to do. Like nothing is guaranteed. Because we'll talk about it later, but like we got to win. If we draw, like a draw is not good enough. A draw and Bayern wins, and that's it. I don't want to talk about that. I'm still confidence, and I have a lot of confidence, and I'm very excited and very optimistic. But before we get there, before we get next week, before we're popping champagne with Roman Berkey at Amsterdam Tavern in St. Louis, let's talk about this match over the weekend against Augsburg, which is why we're here. Carver's on delay, just got the joke, just caught up to him. But yeah, so I don't know, where do you guys want to start with this? I can start the lineup. That's where we start. That's where we usually start. We're getting way too ahead of ourselves. I forgot how to do a podcast. We'll start with the lineup. Carver, I'll throw it to you.
Yeah, only one change in personnel from the previous two games at home, which was Rafa sliding into the midfield for Jude, who was unavailable, who looks like he's been nursing or tweaked to either, or probably both, his knee and shoulder for the majority of the season, it looks like. If you see, he's got looks like the big patches of tape and everything. So it just looks like it finally caught up to him, unfortunately. And we all know how extremely vital Jude is to this team, not only on but off the ball, and how hard it is to fill that hole of his whenever he is absent. So it just added to the pressure of this game and the significance of this game. And we go with the 4-1, tweaking our shape a bit, and letting Rafa into the midfield to be a dual 8 with Brandt. Other than that, same lineup as the last few games.
Adam, you got anything? I know Gio has been a topic of discussion. Obviously, we've seen Rafa slide in this like midfield, not a topic of discussion, but kind of like. I
was going to say, no, he hasn't. No, he hasn't been a topic at all.
No, exactly. That's I guess my topic is obviously Gio hasn't. Like we've seen Rafa slide in this position, right. So it's not really a surprise. We saw Gio a little bit later, but it seemed like this might have been an opportunity for him. But obviously, Rafa slides in there and. We can't complain because got the job done. We win the match. It was a struggle at first, especially they go down a man in the 38th minute. Did anything stick out from the first half? Like we kind of dominated the stats and everything, but from first half, like just frustrating that we couldn't get anything in, especially going up a man in the 38th minute.
At halftime, I tweeted the XG differential just with the caption "nightmare fuel." Like if we were going to lose points, you could guess how it was going to happen. It was going to be tons and tons of chances without any end product. And that's exactly what we had at halftime. It was like 2.47 to 0.02 or something like that at halftime. And that was just, I was like, no, we can't let it slip with another match like this that we've seen over and over again on the road, 14th or below team and just not being able to finish. And, we got Kubek, who is having this like great, I'm so tired of these goalkeepers coming out of nowhere to have great matches against Borussia Dortmund. And we see it over and over again. And I was not thrilled going into halftime, seeing that had played out. I had been pretty confident before the match because, as much as I love Jude, I think that Rafa swapping in there, not only Rafa swapping in, but get the defensive stability of having Ryerson and Wolf as the fullbacks, I thought was going to be a benefit. And I think that it played out that way in the match. But man, at halftime, I was a nervous wreck just because I was like, we're creating the chances, which should be a cause for optimism. But we've seen this so many times that I'm not optimistic.
Yeah, not to mention only that, but also with the red card, we've seen this again with Stuttgart just a few weeks back. And it's an unfortunate truth, but them going down a man almost didn't benefit us too much because they were bunkering down either way. After the sending off, I think they switched to a 5-3-1 and played. They were already playing pretty narrow, but now they're just going full, fledged through the middle and not letting anything go by them. And we had 4 big chances that half, 17 shots. Granted, a lot of them were blocked, but 4 of them were on target, 10 of them were in the box. And like you mentioned, the XG was through the roof. So yeah, very frustrating, very annoying. The team stayed positive though. I liked how, they were remaining patient and they weren't forcing a bunch, at least in that first half, and stayed confident in themselves. There was some positive, at least from that first half, but now you only got less than an hour to produce something here. So I think all of us were starting to sweat a little bit.
Yeah, there was patience and aggression. I noticed on free kicks, every time we'd get a whistle, there was multiple times that we tried to take it before the referee was ready, and just called it back. And it just stood out to me as they really just want to keep going at this and make sure we get as many seconds to work with as possible. So I'm going to throw it back to you guys though. The red card, I think by the book, it was a red card. It was the last man. But the first thing I thought of when the referee was in that situation was, oh my God, I don't want to be hearing from Dortmund fans all week long if I get this wrong. That had to be going through his head. We just had the Bochum match where the referee blew it and, heard about it for weeks. This had to be going through his head. And I'm glad they made the right call. It was a harsh call, but I think it was probably the right one. What do you think?
When I only saw it once live, and I should have went back and seen, I guess, that foul a bit more. But initially, it was only just called for a foul. It wasn't even, not only a red card, but it was not even a card in general. So I guess I don't know if they pulled it back to VAR. I wasn't sure because I was kind of sitting there with my head on a swivel with the people around me going what is going on? And then when they finally gave the red card, I was like, oh, well, that makes sense because at the very least it should have been a yellow. It's one of those almost orange challenges. But yeah, like you said, it is by the book.
Yeah, I noticed he didn't make the call right away, but I don't know I think if there was any VAR intervention, it was just he was waiting to assign the card until he said, was that the last man? Because I think there was going to be a card coming either way, but it was just a matter of what color it was going to be. And I think he just wanted confirmation that it was the last man. But yeah, just like you said, as soon as that happened too, I turned to my son and said, well, they're playing for the 0-0 now. They are not going to throw anything forward. And that's exactly what happened.
I don't want to sit here as the Dortmund fan and be like, oh, of course it was a red card. I think if you get down to the real technical law of the laws and the rules or whatever, I think it's almost one of those VAR decisions that you see in the Premier League that are hyper close. It's you'd have to break it down that close to really see. My only thing is when he received the ball, it's he was almost just in between two players. He wasn't quite past him yet. It's you could maybe break down when did the foul start? Yeah, he was breaking away and got pulled back. That's my only thing where I wouldn't have been surprised if they didn't give a red because he was kind of in between the players. I think when he started, and it wasn't a clear breakaway yet. When you know how fast he is, then yeah, and when you see what could have happened. Yeah, I'm glad we got the red card, but I wouldn't have been surprised if it was only a yellow or just a foul too. It's kind of a confusing situation, but more than happy that we got it. Although a little panicky that we've seen a red card before and it didn't go our way.
Right.
But moving on, and obviously you said didn't get anything in the first half, and kind of frustrating. But I think we've talked about it a lot recently, but just kind of a shift in attitude, a shift in confidence. We had those frustrating games, and it's only been a couple weeks, but I think those back-to-back home games helped. I've said a lot, but to have those, to get that confidence from the back-to-back home games where we're scoring a lot, and getting past those frustrating moments. Like, we've had enough of those frustrating moments, and it's good to see that the players have realized that and realized like what they need to do and have this confidence to like keep grinding and keep pushing and not really get down on themselves. It took all like 36, how long? What match day is it? I know we're almost done. Like how it took the entire season to maybe get to this mentality. And we've seen glimpses here and there, and then it gets like shattered, but it seems like we've got it. And it's good to see it, like them pursue, have the confidence, and eventually press on and score in the second half.
Yeah, Terzic stuck by his men in the second half, didn't make any changes. And just before the hour mark is whenever we open our scoring, which those like 5 minutes or so, I was like, okay, we should probably see a change in scenery here. I mean, it's just, we've been playing for an hour and nothing's happening, and now it's coming down to the wire. But the man himself, Haller, comes out. I mean, whenever he missed his first chance earlier in the first half, a friend of mine next to me was like, ain't no way he's missing another chance. He's a man on a mission after that. You saw it in his eyes too. And just showing up big in a big moment there. With the cross coming in from Malen, was a bit too much to handle for the Augsburg defender, and Haller has the initiative and striker's instinct to pounce on that immediately, put a good touch in front of him. And just, what about that finish? I mean, that was sweet as a nut. You look at like almost any angle there, and how he managed to pull that off perfectly is incredible.
Yeah, that one just came out of nowhere for me. Like, it felt like chance after chance after chance, and then he just created that from essentially nothing. Just a heavy touch, and he pounced on it, and before we knew it, and I just yelled so loudly that my dogs were not thrilled about it and just couldn't believe it. That one it was an XG of 0.24, but a post-shot XG of 0.96, which, like, what that says is that does not often get put on target, but when it does, it's absolutely going to be a goal. And I think that describes that chance well. He just, pulled something from nothing.
Adam, I want to hear you just talk about Haller and what you've seen maybe over the last month, because it has been a while since we've talked to you. Carver and I talked about it over the last week, especially a couple weeks. It's like obviously it was going to take him a while to get in form, and now we're seeing it. Now we're seeing these like striker moments, like the type of player he is, who can like poach goals, who can like hold up play, like, and we're really seeing the striker that he's been throughout his career, but now we're seeing it at Dortmund, like getting this, like being in the right moment to score that. And that, I mean, the finish, like you said, was just ridiculous to put it in that, just right off the post, right in the corner over there, across the keeper, across the face of like the six. And then, the second goal too, which we'll get into, but just to like being in the right spot. And we're seeing him have these moments and really like breaking a form in fitness and everything.
So Haller will be part of this answer. Like, I'm just thinking about next season, because this was a road match, which we struggle with. This is a road match without Jude Bellingham, who we're probably not going to have next year. And I'm so excited about this front three of Haller, Malen, and Adeyemi for a full season next year. And I'm thinking, how many goals could these three produce? Like, Haller is just on fire right now. Nobody in the Bundesliga is scoring as much as he is. The only player close is Malen, I think. And it's been so inspiring to see him. Everybody knows his story. I'm not going to rehash the story. He's started slow. He's gotten the benefit of the doubt from the entire fan base, and he deserves that for what he's gone through. But now he's exactly like what we hoped we were getting from like day one, if none of this had ever happened. Like, he's playing like he's in peak form. I don't know if he's 100% back to health yet, but he's certainly playing like it. So it makes you wonder, like, if we have a full year of him at his, top performance next year, are we looking at like a 20-10 season, like 20 goals and 10 assists, like, and him working with Malen, like, is Malen going to be good for like 15 and 8 or something like that? What's Adeyemi going to get? Like, I'm thinking back to, and I'm going to bring it over to Malen now. We talked a lot about like, he came in after Sancho left. He's never going to be a Sancho replacement, but when I was looking at him the last couple matches, like he's a Sancho replacement. He's playing like Jadon Sancho was. He's bringing Sancho is the one player like I thought we would never replace, but he's playing like Sancho, and I can't believe that. And Sancho was, you know, a 15 and 15 type guy with goals and assists at his peak here. I'm so excited about like the creativity from these three and the goal scoring possibilities. I can't wait to see what they do next year, even if Bellingham does move on. I think that this was like the little bit of confidence that I needed. Like, we will survive life without Jude Bellingham. It'll be okay. Hopefully we can keep Rafa too. If not, you know, we'll figure out what to do from there. But Haller just has me so excited for like a full season next year without any of these setbacks.
Yeah, this front three is really exciting. We talked about them actually last week and just how exciting and lethal of an attack we have. And, you know, we got to get some reinforcements in the middle of the park this summer, but then we're really hitting the ground running come this fall. And this was talked about by Manuel and Stefan on the Gegenpressing podcast the other day, but they were talking about, you know, if this never happened to Sebastian Haller in the fall and just seeing how much he's transformed this team in just the last few months. And if we had him for a full season already, I mean, what could have happened? The title race may have been over already, which I think is very valid. I mean, with just the stumbles that Bayern have had this season, or this second half of the season, and not only the trajectory from us, but if you go back, I mean, again, the game against Bremen, you can go at a handful of other games that fall where we just desperately needed a striker. And we never had one, really. I mean, Modeste wasn't the answer for that or those sort of games, and Moukoko was still trying to find his feet as well. But man, I mean, Haller has arrived.
This trio scored 0 goals in the first, like before the World Cup break, and it makes you wonder, like, who the hell was scoring? Like, I know Brandt had a few. I assume that Royce must have had a couple in there. Moukoko had a few. But yeah, it really shows like why the goal difference is so stark between like before and after the break. I listened to what you guys were saying. Like, are they just playing out of their minds right now, or is this what we can expect? It almost seems like it's been sustained long enough that it makes me hopeful that this is like the level we can expect.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And just to the note of like, obviously the first half, like I think you can look at Bayern specifically, like as if you're like a Bundesliga outsider, like maybe I don't know who would be listening to this podcast as a Bundesliga outsider, but I know there's going to be some people or like some doubters saying like Bayern has been playing well. Dortmund like just won the title because Bayern's been slipping up. But it's like we both slipped up. Like both teams have slipped up. So it seems like a pretty fair race to the title. You know what I mean? And imagine if, like, I think that's what you have to look at, like the form we're in now and the potential for next season when you look at like Haller and like the health situation. Like there's a big reason we didn't have this in the first half of the season. It's because Haller wasn't available. So like if they're shooting and ready to go next season, given like let's say Bayern is better off, and they probably will be, they'll probably get some things figured out next season. Like I still think like I'm still putting us up there with them, and it should be another like great season next year. Like we've both stumbled. Like I don't know. I know there's going to be these doubters out there no matter what happens, but I think it's still like a fair race given the mishaps on both sides.
It's pure ignorance, anyone who spews things like that. Of course, we could have been a hell of a lot more clinical in games like Stuttgart, Bochum, I mean, going back to Schalke as well. But this team has also only lost one Bundesliga game this calendar year. So it's not just about Bayern stumbling. This team has been on a clear trajectory of, mind you, again, 10 wins in a row in a few months, and still continuing to bring that momentum going forward. And Bayern they're just desperate for goals right now as well. It's almost kind of like a flip-flop of the fall when they had Choupo-Moting and they had a 9. I mean, they do not have a striker at the moment, and they're not finding it in Mane. That whole fan base seems very negative about him. So, I mean, yeah, like you said, both had stumbling moments, but I don't think it's hell of a lot more of our form than simply just Bayern not doing that well. I mean, that's an insane amount of wins this season or this calendar season alone.
So when we were getting 78 points or 76 points in second place, were these same people saying, well, Dortmund should also win the title. It's just that Bayern has more points. That's not how it works. If both teams are doing great, only one can win. If both teams are stumbling, only one can win. And this season, it's right at this point. It happens to be us, and I hope that we can make that last for one more week.
Like, I don't think anyone listening to this podcast, that's what I have to remember, is
right.
really going to be one of those people. It just feels good to say and pretend like I'm venting at people. So I appreciate you two, and I appreciate everyone listening for letting me vent and get that out there. Because I just want to give encouragement to other people who are dealing with Twitter trolls and all that crap. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But moving on, I did want to ask a little bit about Malen. This was probably one of his down games recently. I mean, we didn't see him score, so obviously we're like, what the heck, Malen? What are you doing? And even though it wasn't all great, he still played a role in some of the big moments. Obviously, he got the red card, right? He could have broke away and scored there. And then the first goal, it was a bad cross right to the defender, but he put enough sizzle on it that the guy couldn't control it, and Haller put it away. So give that man an assist. He did help with the second goal where he had that sweet move, kind of a little bit to the outside and dished it off to Royce, who had that great run. Probably should have scored, but good save. And then Haller was there to put it away. But I mean, we can talk about the second goal, but also was going to get your guys' take on Malen. But I think my take real quick, though, before I let you guys talk, is is that even when he has a down game, or even when we see dips from other guys, with Haller firing and with all these options, it's like that's what we should be getting out of this team. It's when someone dips, we still can be we can still get by, we can still score goals, we can still win, which is not what we had the first half of the season. I
still thought he was great. He didn't get an assist or a goal, but didn't he have the through ball to Royce on that second goal? That was him, right? Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. So that pass had me up and yelling, mostly because I had just told my son, just all we're missing now is a Royce goal. And I thought that it was coming there, but we got the second best thing. We got a Haller brace. I mean, he had his 4 shots, but none were on target. I know that usually his thing is he rips them right at the goalkeeper. He let Brandt play that role this game, I guess, because Brandt had 5 shots all on target. But he just still does so much. He was playing more shallow. I mean, like you said, he won the not the penalty, but he drew the red card. I don't know. He's just a menace to deal with. These 3 guys are just all over the place, and it gives defenders fits, even when there's 9 of them trying to keep track of him.
Yeah, not too much to add. I mean, he just loves playing off Haller, and so does Adeyemi. It just the confidence that Haller gives to both of them, and that just goes to show you the presence from Haller. And I'm not trying to shift it back to him, but yeah, I mean, Malen was involved in both of those 2 goals. The first 2 goals, it wasn't assists, but it was damn near close to it. And I thought Royce was going to finish that. I've said it before, but the man is, for years, he's been so consistently inconsistent with how he finishes his chances. I mean, if you go back to a random game off the top of my head in the 18-19 season when we last beat Bayern at home, and just the ridiculous angle he had on a half volley, getting his hip around it to get it to the bottom left corner. These insane shots. But then whenever he's one-on-one with the keeper and the keeper knows exactly where he's going to go, he's still going to pass it right at him. And it's man, you'd feel with a man of his experience and, of course, his calm and collectiveness inside, or his composure inside of opponents' boxes, and you expect him to finish it. But Haller is a pickup there to pick up the scraps. And again, just shows you he's always at the right place in the right time.
I don't exactly know what to make of on-off numbers for soccer. They only seem to be valuable when the player has missed a significant amount of time and also has played a significant amount of time. So you have 2 decently sized samples. But Haller's numbers, when he's on the pitch, they've scored 43 times. They've only conceded 12 times, which is just a ridiculous, he's plus 31. And per 90, his plus minus is 2.46. So per 90 minutes, they're scoring 2.5 goals more than they're conceding when he's on the pitch, which is just amazing. And the on-off numbers for that, meaning like, how does that compare to players who are in his place? When he's on the pitch, their plus minus is over 2 goals better than when he's off the pitch. So it's just an unbelievable impact that he's having. These numbers are astronomical. It's so cool.
I was going to, unless you guys had anything else to add in this stretch before the final goal, I was going to ask about Hummels. I didn't see anything update. Do we know? He looked terrible when he was walking off the pitch. And obviously you saw his eye. But like, did he officially get a concussion? Do we know that? Do we have a confirmation? Do you know?
The only thing we know is that he loves taking pictures of it. I think he's fine. I think he's going to play. Like when he got off the plane or the bus or whatever they took back, he was taking pictures with fans, showing off his eye. He's been taking them at home. I don't think there's a concussion there. I think he just got a boot in the eye, and I think he's going to be okay. I think he's really proud of it. He posted pictures and said, worth it. So he just seems like he's really upbeat about it and pumped for next week.
Yeah, you think if there was bad news, they would have stopped him from being so happy about it, and they would have given us that info. And then on that, though, I guess I know we got the question last week about Hummels and Sule. Is that what we roll with? Because I was just going to talk about. I know it was literally a few minutes that we saw Schlotterbeck come on, and maybe that answers the question that if he plays, it will be a limited role, limited minutes. But we saw him for a few minutes, and he made a great defensive play in the attacking half and got an assist out of it. So that was just positive to see right there. Can he go a full 90 minutes? Like, basically, are we going to see him start next week, this weekend? I don't know what day it is. Are we going to see him start, or are we going to stick with Hummels and Sule, which we've been rolling with the next or the last few weeks?
I mean, yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I still go with the same back line if Hummels is 100% good to go.
Adam, you hit on a little bit earlier. Jude leaving. That's something Carver and I did a really short episode last week, and we did not hit on any of the Jude injury news and the Jude summer news. Like right after we recorded, I got on Twitter for the first time in a while. I was like, oh, Jude's out next week, and we did not talk about it at all. And we could have because we recorded late. But I've asked Carver multiple times. So Adam, I will ask you, if Jude goes, Rafa stays. Is that a midfield answer? Or are we still bringing more people in to fill that role? Like, what are your hopes or dreams? Where do you stand?
I think Rafa would be a great stopgap. I think he's a known quantity, knows how to play in this system. He's had success in the role. He's obviously not a long-term option. That's what we like to typically bring in as a young player to fill that role. But what keeping Rafa would allow us to do is not rush it and find just the best player we can find this season. We could, give it a couple seasons to see who that long-term replacement will be. So I hope Rafa stays, which is a pretty big change from where I was sitting earlier in the season. I was kind of like, well, he's going to walk. Well, I think on the show, I talked about how he was going to walk away for free. And that was kind of a disaster because he's too talented of a player to have him go away for free, but he does have suitors and it's going to be tough to keep him. But I hope that he appreciates the comfort, and I think he'll be excited about playing more midfield. We got to consider too, he's a little bit more injury prone than Bellingham. Bellingham plays a lot of minutes. It's not going to be just Guerrero that fills that role. I know there's this player that we're talking about getting from Ajax that Haller's been playing agent, trying to get him in as well. I forget his name at this moment.
Edson Alvarez.
It sounds like he's more of a number 6 though, more so than an 8. I think there's an opportunity for Brandt possibly to drop a little deeper into the 8 role, and maybe Reina or Bino Gittins get a little bit of time. We have options. I think that's pretty good. But bringing in a younger player with Rafa would allow us to diversify a little bit there.
Carver, anything to add, or are you holding off on the midfield talk?
I'm holding off.
All right. Well, we can move on. Of course, Championship Saturday, whatever you want to call it. Mainz 9:30 Eastern time. We are sitting at 70 points. Bayern sitting at 68 points. So say like win, and it's ours. It's in our hands again. We're at home. I don't see us losing, but I mean that's how I'm feeling. Do we want to? We are going to talk. Adam's with us, so of course we're going to talk the Dortmund women's team. But a quick preview, and I mean, do you guys want to jump right into predictions? You want to talk Mainz at all?
Let's see. I'm looking at our recent form against Mainz, and we've actually done quite well. Won the last 4 matches, so we've gotten both home and away wins in there. They all seem to be a little bit on the closer side. But thinking about our last 2 home wins and thinking about what this match means and thinking about what this mentality of this team looks like lately, I'm calling a 4-0.
I love that. And I'm going to come back because I feel confident as well. But, despite a recent spell of bad form this past month from Mainz, they also went on an undefeated run from mid-February until the very end of April in the league. Some of those games beating Leverkusen away, Leipzig away, and they beat Bayern at home. And the last 2 games we've had at Mainz were both 1-0s, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, this one obviously with the late winner from Reina, that was a very nervy game. And then same thing last year with Chan. Like Jake, we always make the jokes about him somehow getting a clean sheet with the other 3 around him. But, I mean, yeah, we're at home. Just the stakes of everything and, like you said, the mentality. We've seen for weeks and weeks now from the players, the coaching staff, from the media and the team, that they know what's at stake. They know the enormous opportunity is in reaching distance now. And whether you started being a supporter this season or a few years ago, or even hell, plenty of people probably listening longer than us, just cherish this moment. And the players know it's do or die, and we get to see if they can pull it off. And I feel good as well. I'm going to go with 4-0 as well, actually.
Woo! A note on Mainz form right now. It's amazing to look at their form. They've lost 4 in a row, which now that they have nothing to play for, they're just dropping games left and right. In their last 10 matches, they've won twice. And that's a 3-0 against Leipzig and a 3-1 against Bayern. Like, so random. I love it.
The real question is what Dortmund's secret agent, former player, or staff is at Mainz. If there's none there, we do have secret agent Tigges at Köln, who Bayern plays this weekend. So let's get a Köln, or let's get a just Tigges hat trick would also do the trick. Like, that's all we need, really.
I don't think it'll be a Tigges hat trick because I'm going 1-1 in that match. I think we actually end up with a little bit of a cushion. I think Bayern is just, they're just like, this, we're out.
Yeah, I agree.
But I did not give a score prediction, so I will go. I'm just going to be different, and I'm going to say 3-0. Could be another 6, though. Could be another. No, but what you guys said, I like our form, our confidence lately, how we play at home, like everything, like the moment I think we're going to be up for it. Mainz has nothing to play for. Like we did see how Gladbach performed last week when they had nothing to play for. I think it's going to be, I hope, easy cruising to the title. And I just changed my mind. I said I think, and then I said I hope. So I don't know where I'm at mentally right now, but I think I'm confident. I'm feeling pretty confident. I think we should be able to get this. I'm going to shut up now. Adam, let's talk women. Let's talk the Dortmund women's team and get into this. And I apologize because I think a couple weeks ago I might have said that they won a trophy and it was the semifinal. I think I jumped the gun a little bit. But can you just give us an update on the women's season, how they have ended things, and what we can look forward to, and just a general update, I guess, on everything?
Yeah, so they also have one regular season match left to go. But unlike the men's team, it is not a match that means anything at this point. They have already won promotion. They have already won one of the cup competitions they were in. So in the regular season, they are 23-0. So they have kept their league winning streak going. 134 goals scored, 5 conceded. So they're doing a lot of the same things that they were doing last year. There's been a few more matches that were, I mean, there's even been a couple of 1-0s in there, some 3-0s in there. I think last time I was on, we talked about the Association Cup, the Verbandspokal that they played against Bochum, which is Bochum was a couple levels above them. They were actually beating Bochum 2-0, but then lost 3-2. That was the first loss they've ever had, and it was to the strongest team that they'd ever played, so it was an understandable thing. But from there, they were out of the Association Cup. They went back to the District Cup, the Kreispokal, which is the cup they won last year. So they were certainly favorites to do that, to do that again. In the round of 16, they won 11-0. In the quarterfinal, that was where they had one of their tight matches, 1-0. So they just squeaked through on the worst pitch I've ever seen. It was like a dust bowl. And Anna Zabel now goes back by Anna Haselsteiner, her maiden name. She's back using that. She scored the 1-0 in that. In the semifinal against Brecknen, who was actually their opponent in the final last year, they won 5-0. And then in the final against Eintracht Dorstfeld, which is Anna's old team, they won 7-0. They didn't leave any surprise to the end here. They just pummeled them in the final and won. So in the Kreispokal, their goal differential was 24-0. So overall, for the entire season, they're 29-1, 168 scored, 8 conceded. They have earned direct promotion to the 5th tier now. The second team also earned promotion this year, so things are just looking amazing for the Dortmund women. And on a personal note, it was kind of awesome on Thursday when they won the cup final, because I was sending some congratulatory messages to some of the players, and Anne-Catherine Lau called me up on a video chat and had me say hi to the rest of the team. So that was super cool. And if Anne-Catherine is listening, thank you so much for doing that. It was very nice to say hi to some of the players. And again, this has just been an amazing ride to see this team start from the very bottom and earn 2 direct promotions. Well, not the first one wasn't direct. They had a playoff they had to win, and they won it. But this one was a direct promotion, and they're looking forward to do it again next season.
I'm glad you touched on the FaceTime chat. That was awesome to hear when you told me the other day, and I was hoping you were actually going to say it again on the show. That's awesome that they reached out, and what a season. Oh my God. It's the fact that, you know, last year we were talking about these like video game scores almost, and like, you know, what's it going to be like next year? You know, they're going to be a whole new competition, and it's just steamrolling again. Do you know off the top of your head how many goals we conceded last year?
Last year, let's see. I can check. I'm a click away. Last year, they only conceded 4 the entire season.
Still
that was in
less
24
than 10
matches.
Goals in 2 seasons. Unbelievable.
And just think, 3, well, if we count the cup competitions, 3 came in that cup match against Bochum, which, you know, that's almost as many as we conceded all of last year. And those came in like a 5-minute span, too. It was unfortunately, it was a very heartbreaking loss. It would have been an absolute steal if they had gotten that game against Bochum, but it was not to be. But yeah, there were like only 5 new players this year. And like these new players, they really came through. Marie Grote has been playing in the number 10 spot. She has scored over 30 goals this year. Mandy Reinhardt has scored nearly 30 herself, just unbelievable goal scoring tallies. Mia Badarf has been great in the midfield as well. Nora Reckenbach was another center back that we brought in. And, you know, all 4 of them have played huge roles this season. And I'll be curious to see, like, if those were signings for the next couple years or if they'll actually be signing more players again this year.
I wanted to touch on, like, that Boca match. Did you say that they're 2 divisions above?
I believe it's 2 divisions.
Okay.
It might even be 3. No, I think it's 2.
Okay. It's exciting. One, I know they lost that match, but the fact that I think they lost, like it was a really tough competition, is exciting now that they're moving up again. Like we're going to see, it's just going to keep getting tougher and tougher, which is exciting because it's nice that they're winning so much, but they're just blowing everyone out. So it's like you want to see like some competition. So it's nice that they're going to have more, like they got to play against Bochum in that cup, and they're going to get more of those kind of opportunities. So I guess what are your like expectations and like what are you looking forward to next season as we move up another division and get more opportunities in like cup competitions?
Oh boy, I am. I assumed that this year, but I assume that when they move up this year, they'll probably lose a league match at some point. It's going to be close. We had some that were very close this time. We somehow managed to not have any draws either. But going to be moving up yet another division, so that's going to become a possibility, and that's okay. That's going to be one of the growing pains. We'll have to understand that that's something that's going to come with moving up, and when they finally face adversity like that, that'll be an experience they can learn from. But I am looking for another direct promotion next year. I think that they can do it. I think this squad is built for the long term. On the one hand, it would be nice if they could like skip a couple divisions and maybe play up, but that's not the way the club decided to do it. That's not the way the fans decided to do it. So, this will just be, a lot more games to get to where we want to be, but that's okay.
I was just going to say, like, I think you've been noticing it a lot more. If you follow, like, if you're American like us or not a German speaker, like the main BVB, like German account has been doing a great job of, like, they've always cross promoted like the youth teams and even like the handball teams, but you're seeing a lot more about the women's team on their feed, which is really cool. So Adam, I just wanted you to touch on the website, which I know you mentioned earlier, like, oh, I'm a click away from finding this. So while it's great seeing like some highlights and some things sporadically on the main BVB page, we always tell people like you're the source for Dortmund women's coverage, especially from the like American or English perspective. So I just wanted you to like talk about your website, everything you cover, and everything you handle over there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a stats guy. If you're familiar with fbref.com, that's, part of the day job that I have. So I wanted to build a stats site on the side for the women's team because I like having facts and numbers to go by for the things that I follow. And that includes the women's team. So that's something I started with very early on in the women's team's history, and just kind of kept going with it. It's the place if you want to find like who has the most goals and assists on the team. And I track minutes and stuff like that too. So you can see the per 90 stats and stuff like that. But, I'm a little bit slower to update it this year just because I have more to go on. So I'm a couple matches behind right now, but if you keep an eye on my Twitter feed, I usually post some updated stats when I finally catch up. And, not all of the games are televised. So sometimes for the, assist data, I go to Danny Fritz, who's actually the stadium announcer for the women's team at home, and he provides me with the stats that he's keeping as well. And
like every week, we've got the link for Adam's website, his Twitter, and everything. If you want to follow him and follow his website, the link in the description of this episode. Cover, do you want to jump in? You have anything?
Yeah, I did actually have a question. Do you happen to know if there's any sort of speculation of people trying to take some players away from us or from the women's team this summer? Or does it look like they're all here for at least another? I know you said some players were brought in that, not necessarily might be here for the long haul, but do we know short term? Is it going to be a squad going in the next season?
Yeah, I've heard nothing about that. Towards the end of last year, I was a little concerned that some clubs in like the not very highest tier, but in the higher tiers might be interested in Hannah Guzman, who was like 17, 18 years old during the season and was our leading scorer last year. Unfortunately, she has struggled with injuries this year and she never really got started this year. She scored, I think, once for the team and a few times for the second team while she was working her way back. I don't think anyone's going to be coming in to grab any of our other like frontline players because they purposely made the decision to come here when they had other opportunities available to them. Like, Marie Grote, I believe, has played in the second division. Mandy Reinhardt, I believe, has as well. So these are players that they're all in on this project and want to see it through. So these are our Dortmund women. They want to see Borussia Dortmund reach the top and they want to be there with it. So it would take something huge to draw some of these players away.
That's awesome to hear. And I know Adam has touched on this when we had him on our show a while back, but it's not only just, a lot of these players are here for the long haul, but they're also investing themselves so much into trying a lot of new things on the squad. Adam talked about before, a lot of these players playing in so many different positions and not just scoring goals, but also, a lot of these players like Rota, you can keep going down the list. Reinhardt, not only do they have 20 plus goals, but they have double digits in assists as well. So a lot of goal contributions to be spread out throughout the whole team. So again, very cool that, you're seeing the camaraderie and the collectiveness and the investment overall from each and every one of these players on the team.
Yeah, definitely some versatile players. Like Louisa Bergman, who was our number 6 last year, she actually filled in as goalkeeper one match when our goalkeepers were not able to make that might have been a game when there was a lot of COVID infections or something. Then this year she's been playing a lot of center back too, and when she's doing it, she's got the armband too, and she's just awesome. She's a part of the eFootball program too, and she's just so cool and very public on social media and stuff. You get to know the players; they're super friendly. They love this whole project, and I've loved following it as well, and kind of getting to know what it takes to take a club from 7th division to the top here, and what it means to start something like that within a club like Borussia Dortmund. It's so cool.
It's such a historic thing too. And you mentioned how you kind of hit on the club's decision, but if you're new, if you didn't know Dortmund had a women's team, if you're just trying to learn more about it, Adam is your guy. But they made the decision of starting at the bottom and working their way up, not buying the rights to another club and just branding it Borussia Dortmund and taking over. They're grinding and they're going through the process and making the project out of it. And it's just really cool to see it, such a historic thing. And eventually we'll be seeing them in the first division and who knows where from there, Women's Champions League, that kind of stuff. It's just so cool to see it from the ground level. So if you're not already, I would get involved in, if you can't watch every game, I get it. There's a lot of football to watch every single weekend, but keep up with them, check out what they're doing, especially now as they're still kind of in this early stage, but moving up quick.
Yeah. If you just want bite-sized content, the games that are broadcast, I do link to the highlight clips that you can just kind of watch the goals and some of the saves. There aren't many saves, to be completely honest, on either side. Everybody's Dortmund's clinical, and the other teams just aren't getting many shots off. But so it's all there if you want to see some video clips or see when the next match is and what the live stream is. The last game of the season will be live streamed. That's on June 4th against Bork. So you could always check that one out. And then they'll be done for the summer again. We'll see, if they're going to be, building the squad some more. They're going to be starting U17 in the summer as well. So that's new. Each year they're adding a new team. So now they've got the first team, the second team, and now the U17 team as well. Exciting times. And, years from now, we're going to see them in the first division. And this squad will always be historic. This will always be the first Dortmund Women's Club squad. And I think that's something that these players are going to cherish for their entire lives.
Yeah, that's super cool. And this is the first time I heard they're adding a U17 team. So that's incredible too, that they're not only building or creating the professional team, but now they're going to start investing in the youth too to keep it going and produce this pipeline, which is what we see from. It makes sense because it's Dortmund and that's what they do. So it's really cool. Again, get involved now. Check them out. And I like that they're playing in 2 weeks. So we got Dortmund men's
right.
We're gonna wrap up that season. Then we still got one more game to go with the women. We always, I might have been slacking the last few episodes or weeks, but I try to put the women's match in the description, all the details and Adam's link to watch it too. So I'll make sure to put that in this episode so you can watch that in a couple weeks. Again, Adam is linked on everything. Really appreciate you guys hanging out and listening week after week. Adam, so good to always have you join us, not only to talk Dortmund Women, but the men's team too. And Yeah, it's always great having you. We appreciate it, man.
Well, thank you for having me. And also thanks for the support of the women's team as well. I love any opportunity I get to share information about them. And you're both always so welcoming and ready to share it out. So I truly appreciate that.
And that's it. I don't know what else to say. I feel like I should need to say something big and triumphant, but we'll talk to you guys next week. Carver might have something.
I was just going to say, Jake, Adam, everyone else that is listening, enjoy this weekend, and win or lose next week, we will see you on the other side.
Oh, there was something I needed to say. Carver, that was great. I appreciate it. If you are one of our friends in St. Louis, make sure you join Brucey STL at Amsterdam Tavern. I know Brooklyn Brucin will be meeting up at Banter, as they always do, and I will link those in the description of this episode too if you're in either the New York area, St. Louis area. I know we have listeners literally everywhere, so I know there's guys in Kansas City, Atlanta, Charlotte. So if just shout out to those guys, and if they have a watch party, reach out to us so that we can promote it on our page. There's also we have a link in the description of this to help you find a local supporters group if you want to go. Like, this is it. If you've been watching Dortmund by yourself at home week after week, do it. Go watch with some people at a bar, at a pub, and enjoy the weekend, like Carver said. And we'll be back next week.
Godspeed, everyone. Stay safe.